Good morning. My name is Edmund, and today I'm going to report about the good life from Aristotle and Plato. Lesson objectives. At the end of this lesson, the student should be able to examine what is meant by a good life, identify how humans attempts to attain what is deemed to be a good life, and recognize possibilities available to human being to attain the good life. In ancient Greece, long before the word science has been coined, the need to understand the world and reality was bound with the need to understand self and good life. For Plato, the task of understanding the things in the world runs parallel with the job of truly getting into what will make the soul flourish. In the Republic, Plato teaches that a life committed to knowledge and virtue will result in happiness and self fulfillment. To achieve happiness, one should render himself immune to changes in the material world and strive to gain the knowledge of the eternal, immutable forms that reside in the intelligible realm. It was Aristotle who gave a definitive distinction between the theoretical and practical sciences. Among the theoretical disciplines, Aristotle included logic, biology, physics, and metaphysics, among others. Among the practical ones, Aristotle counted ethics and politics, whereas truth is the aim of the theoretical sciences, that good is the end goal of the practical ones. Every attempt to know is connected in some way, in an attempt to find the good or the attainment of human flourishing. In an attempt to understand reality in the external world, man must seek to understand himself too. In this lesson, we endeavor to go back a little and answer these questions. What does it really mean to have a good life? What qualities as a good existence? Aristotle and the good life. Every human person, according to Aristotle, aspires for the end. This end goal of life, happiness. No individual resists happiness. We all want to be happy. People do things in the end would make them happy. Happiness, according to Aristotle, means human flourishing, a kind of contentment in knowing the one is getting the best out of life. For Aristotle, the final end of human life is to flourish, to live well. To have a good life, all actions should aim at this end. Of course, in order to live at all, we need food, clothing, and shelter. But living in itself the means to the end of living well. And what is living well? A means too. Aristotle says that living well is the final end for humans. It is not a means to anything else. Aristotle thinks this is obvious because few people want to live poorly. In the 18th century, John Stuart Mill declared the greatest happiness principles by saying that an action is right as far as it maximizes the attainment of happiness for the greatest number of people. Mill said that individual happiness of each individual should be prioritized and collectively dictates the kind of action that should be endorsed. School of thought that aims for the good and happy life. 1. Materialism. Number 2. Hedonism. Number 3. Stoicism. Theism and humanism. Materialism. The first materialists were the Atomists in ancient Greece, led by Democritus and Leucippus. A way of thinking that gives too much importance to material possessions rather than to spiritual or intellectual things. The first materialists were the Atomists in ancient Greece, led by Democritus and Leucippus, a way of thinking that gives too much importance to material possession rather than to spiritual or intellectual things. In terms of human flourishing, matter is what makes us attain happiness. We see this at work with most people who are clinging on to material wealth as the primary source of meaning of their existence. Here is one example of materialism. Hedonism. The hedonists see the end of the goal of life is acquiring pleasure. Pleasure has always been the priority of hedonists. For them, life is about obtaining and indulging in pleasure because life is limited. Their mantra is eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Led by Epicurus, this school of thought also does not buy any notion of afterlife, just like the materialist, since their happiness comes from worldly pleasures. Here's the example. Stoicism, another school of thought led by Epicurus. The Stoics espouse the idea that to generate happiness, one must learn to distance oneself and be apathetic. The quality of behavior of a person who accepts what happens without complaining or showing emotion. For the Stoics, happiness can only be attained by a careful practice of apathy. We should adopt the fact that some things are not within our control. The sooner we realize this, the happier we become. Here's the example. According to Marcus Aurelius, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. The theism. Most people find the meaning of their lives using God as a fulcrum of their existence. The ultimate basis of happiness for a theist is the communion with God. The world where we are in is only just a temporary reality where we have to maneuver around while waiting for the ultimate return to the hands of God. Here's an example of theism. Humanism. Humanism espouses the freedom of man to carve his own destiny and to legislate his own laws free from the shackles of a God that monitors and controls. For a humanist, man is literally the captain of his own ship. Humanists see themselves as individuals who control of themselves and the world outside them. This is the spirit of most scientists who thought that the world is a place for freely seeking ways how to improve lives of its inhabitants. Humanism is the faith that human beings can live happily without religion. It values the welfare of human beings more than religious beliefs. Okay, the summary of my report. Man is constantly in pursuit of good life. Yes, that's correct. Every person has his perspective when it comes to what compromises the good life. Throughout history, man has worked hard in pointing out what amounts to a good or happy life. Science and technology has been, for the most part, at the forefront of man's attempts at finding this happiness. The only question of the day is whether science is taking the right path toward attaining what it really means to live a good life. Okay, that's it. That's my report for today. And see you again next time. Thank you very much. Thank you to our proctor, our teacher, and to all my fellow classmates. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.